Buddy, we're doing it.
Are we live?
I think we're getting close, man. How are you?
I am hanging in there, battling a cold, but I am committed.
Oh my gosh, is your head like?
Yeah, I took some drugs to try and help, but we'll see how it works.
Oh man. All right. Well, hang in there with me. Hopefully, you're going to be
It'll
all right.
make for a fantastic show as I'm tripping out on cold meds.
Are you on drugs right now?
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Well, we are live, and I believe we are broadcasting to the Winning on Shopify Facebook page. So it's really an honor to be able to kick this off. And Kyle and I are going to start doing this regularly. And the plan is we're going to start doing Fridays. I think we'll probably do noon Pacific, but today it's 4:00. So we're really excited about that. And want to just welcome you to this. I guess you could say it's our first Friday go live. And we're going to have to come up with a show name. Maybe just Winning Online. I'm thinking maybe Winning Online.
Just
What do you think?
winning. Just
Winning.
winning. We'll do
Yes.
a Charlie Sheen meme. That's fun to say. Winning.
Exactly. That's what we'll do. Well, we've got an awesome topic tonight, and I want to really make sure we dive right in and start sharing specific content. Really excited to work through a very specific question. It's top of mind for a lot of students right now, and we're really trying to work hard to figure out how to make this a reality. And the question is, how do we set up our sales channels? In particular, what sales channels should we be selling on in 2018? Which ones should we be selling on right now? And sort of how do we structure that so that we really have not only just our own thoughts and ideas and game plan, but we really thought through why and the underlying business reasons. And so that's what we want to dig into tonight. We've got 4 questions for everybody tonight that we want to work through. And so that's what we'll use as sort of our framework. And we'll ask each other these questions. And then we've also got a worksheet that you can download. So if you want to jump on the worksheet with us, you can pick it up at winningонshopify.com and get the worksheet and start to work through this topic with us. Now, the reason we're working hard on this topic today in particular is because this whole month we've set aside for our Inner Circle program to really work through this topic and the idea of where do you sell online? What's your sales channel strategy? And so that's what we're going to work through the orientation conversation tonight. Sound all right, man?
It sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Very, very cool. Well, let me ask you this. Where do you sell online right now?
Where do I sell online? Primarily Amazon.
Okay.
But if you're aware of it, Amazon has a lot of different ecosystems it plays in, right? There's primarily Amazon.com, but then we also sell in 5 different European markets on Amazon as well.
Okay.
And in the next probably 45 days or so, or less, we will be also selling one of our SKUs in Canada. So if you're watching from Canada, you can be able to buy it without having to try and mess with any exporting weird stuff that
Awesome.
is always part of it. So
Yep.
We'll be there. We also sell on eBay. Although I don't know if we sell on eBay, but we don't really sell a lot on eBay, but we're there. And we're trying to establish a little bit there. We've been approved to sell on Jet, and I've literally sold one thing on there so far. And then I didn't try to do anything else with Jet. So we are there. But those are the primary. And then we have our own Shopify store, which we make sales on. And also Etsy. We make a little bit of sales there.
Okay, wait. Now you just rattled off a whole bunch, dude.
Bunch. You asked where am I selling? I'm like,
Right.
On the interwebs.
All right, go break it down for me one more time. So you got Amazon Europe, you're doing Amazon Canada.
Yep.
And then you've got Jet,
which I've only made like one sale on Jet ever.
But you're hooked
We're
up.
on there. We're approved. We could do more.
Okay.
It's a pain, so I haven't really messed with it.
Okay.
And then eBay. I just made a sale on eBay today, which is fun because there's not really a ton of action there yet.
Yeah.
And then on Etsy.
All right.
The marketplaces that we currently
Very
sell
cool.
on.
Yeah, very cool. Wow. That's fantastic. So, so here's a harder question for you.
All right.
Um, why do you sell on those sites?
That's a good question. So I sell on Amazon.com because I like massive amounts of traffic and engaged buyers, and because we warehouse with FBA, so that is pretty much a done deal for us. There's no warehousing cost. I mean, there's warehousing costs per unit, right? Because you have to pay Amazon.
Yeah.
But we're not having to go through that process. And it was an ease thing getting started. Now, as we've continued to scale and grow, we definitely are more open to looking at some other options, potentially to kind of cross mix and cross sell different platforms. But primarily for FBA purposes, we're on Amazon.com. And because their growth of Amazon.com is still pretty meteoric in terms of their ability to attract new customers and the trust that the platform has. So we sell there. And then selling in Europe was the next kind of major move that we did. And again, you kind of translate some of your success on Amazon.com over to Europe in terms of reviews and trust. And they're trying to grow their brands aggressively over there. So that's where it made a lot of sense for us. And the population is there. I mean, the traffic numbers aren't nearly as much. If you were to take away if you looked at individually at the 5 different marketplaces, they don't come close, but you start to aggregate them together and they're not that far off necessarily what the kind of sales
from the US
you have on .com. Okay. So as an aggregate whole, it just made a lot of sense.
Yep.
And there's some cool things that Amazon's doing that allows you to kind of just put your product in one marketplace, but then sell it all across Europe.
Yeah,
we wanted to do that as well. So that was kind of a leverage point that we saw. The next, why are we going to Canada? Because I feel bad for our Canadian customers who have to jump through a lot of hoops. And finally, I was just like, okay, I got to help these people out. So we're going to put some units in, and will they sell out? I have no idea. But at this point, I just want to make it easier. And so that's why we're going to put a couple of things in Canada. eBay. Why do we sell on eBay? Well, I wouldn't really categorize it as we make a lot of sales on eBay.
But why are you on the platform?
I'm on the platform because they have pretty talented business development folks who will email you and call you and put you on all of the.
You got sold on it?
Yeah. So I got this email from eBay, and they're like, "Hey, we really think you'd be awesome, doing awesome on our platform. We want to give you all of these things and hook you up for like, a year's worth of this and a year's worth of that, and we'll throw it on there. You just got to get all your stuff sent over and get us to get on the platform." So I jumped through all these hoops and we did it and we got it set up, and it hasn't really gone anywhere as of yet.
Okay.
But so it was primarily because we were wooed by eBay to come and be more of an active seller.
Yeah.
And then we looked at Jet, got approved for it because we're like, hey, let's just see what happens. And then we ended up using a third party, because you have to use a third party tool because they don't have a Seller Central type of scenario. It's all API based. So you have to use a third party tool to actually put all of your products into their system. And so I got that set up, and then there was like errors. And then I was like, I don't have time for this. And so that's where Jet is at. It was more of a time thing, and I didn't find it that interesting. So,
got you.
And then Etsy just kind of made sense for us from an art perspective. We haven't done a ton of traffic, on Etsy or a ton of sales, but I think it's a pretty fun little sales channel, and I imagine we'll keep going that direction. So,
got you.
Then where do you sell, sir, online?
Well, people know me as the Shopify guy in a lot of ways, so they assume that Shopify is my only place.
Oh, there's more?
There's a little bit more. There's a little bit more.
Hey,
and so we started on Shopify, and that's our main channel, and then we also sell substantially on Etsy as well. And so those two are our primary locations for our core Pixie Fair product. I mean, those are the two locations that we are deliberately on. The reason we jumped on Shopify was because we couldn't sell our product on Amazon.
Yeah, that's true.
We sold digital patterns, like, sewing patterns. So they didn't fit on the Kindle platform. They didn't fit in the CreateSpace platform. And we didn't want to sell CDs. We wanted to sell them as downloadable PDFs. So for us, Amazon was a non-starter. So that was really the reason why we originally did WordPress, and then we moved to Shopify. So those are our two. But now the big question is, and I'll ask you this, and really this sets the stage for the conversation tonight, which is, what's the plan for 2018? Where are you going to sell, and
Good.
why? And that really sets the stage for this training that we're diving into. And if you've go to winningонshopify.com, get the companion worksheet for this conversation, and really take the time to fill out these 4 questions we've got for you. And these questions really will help shape your business blueprint for where you're going to sell in 2018 and why you're going to sell there. And so it's not as simple as you might think. And so I want to jump into the 4 questions here in a minute, but I think you told me the number of marketplaces that are available to be sold online from, where'd you hear it from?
From Channel Advisor, yeah.
What's the story on that? How many places are there to sell?
They said there were over 200 different marketplaces around the world that you can sell on. And it's growing all the time, right? There are new marketplaces. There are niche marketplaces, as you well know, because you have one, right? So you're adding to the complexity of the e-commerce ecosystem. No, there are a lot out there, and there are many, and they shift in terms of importance based on where you're at in the world, right?
Yep.
So, for example, Mercado Libre, which is the Amazon of South America, is really, really growing. It's really expansive.
What's it called?
Mercado Libre.
Wow.
I never heard of it till I talked to Channel Advisor. Wow. And they're like, hey, we think you should sell your stuff. And it's like in Chile and Mexico, and it's an Argentinian company. I think it started in Argentina. It's in Brazil. So pretty much all of Central and South America, that's the primary online marketplace that happened on. So
amazing.
Will I end up there in 2018? That will depend. Because it's also one of those platforms that are API based. So Channel Advisor happens to be one of the preferred partners. That's why they're probably telling me that I should be on that platform, because
and I don't even know what you mean by that. What's API based? You can't just set up your own account?
So they don't have a Seller Central. So if you're familiar with Amazon, you can log in, you have Seller Central, you can put your product in there, put your description, all of your stuff, and you can just do it right from the web console.
Yeah.
API-based marketplace means that you can only connect to it with code.
Okay.
Right? You have to connect through their feed, basically.
Okay.
And so you have to use a third-party vendor who's basically created that interface for you to plug into it.
Okay.
Or one of their preferred vendors that have already done that as well.
Got you. And so there's over 200 marketplaces where people could sell online.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And so then, the question is, like, how do you manage that? You know what I mean? Like, to me, when I hear there's 200 marketplaces, I get to feel like overwhelmed. Like it's like, how do you prioritize? How do you not feel like total sense of overwhelm? How do you feel like you're not, in a way, it's like guilt, because it's like, man, if we need to be, do we need to be everywhere? Right. That's really the underlying question, is like, is there an assumption that an omni-channel selling strategy is just assumed to be the right thing for everybody?
Yeah, I think that's the question. The question that comes in my mind is like, I should be there. But then also it's like, I should be there, right? Like, you want to make money. And if it could add to your bottom line, then I think that becomes the fundamental question for me in thinking about it, is like, how much percentage increase in growth could I potentially achieve if I lock down that marketplace?
Right.
Is it going to be, 8%, 5%, 1%, a half a percent growth? Is that worth it?
Right.
So those are the questions you have to start to figure out.
Yeah, and then obviously that's like, what's the time and energy required to get that 8%, right?
Right.
So it's not, I mean, in my view, it's really not a foregone conclusion that an omni-channel strategy is the right thing. I think it really is as unique as each of us are as sellers, that we actually, we need a blueprint and a plan that's really tailor-made to our work. And that's really why we created this month's topic, this where to sell training that we're working through this month with our inner circle students.
And it might even come down to even the brands that you have. If you have more than one brand, your brand itself might have a different channel strategy.
Yep, absolutely. So there's 4 parts to this, the framework that we've created and that we're teaching this month. And so we want to walk you through 4 questions that sort of kick off these topics. And then again, if you just jumping on, check out the winningonshopify.com website. We've got a PDF document that you can download and fill in these 4 questions as you start to work through your specific blueprint for where to sell online in 2018. So let's walk through a few of these questions because, you know, obviously they're overwhelming to just think about all of them. And I guess I should just say before we jump into the questions, you got to admit, suffice it to say that all of us are mainly, for entrepreneurs, we're a little bit ADD, and we're a little bit like, we're gone. In fact, Kyle's gone. He just left. And but the deal is, you know, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of coaches, mentors, gurus, teachers who are all telling us what we should be doing, and they want to teach us how to do all these platforms. We obviously work on Shopify. We teach people Shopify, but there are other gurus who teach people how to do every one of these platforms. And every platform has a sales team. Like you said, eBay has a great sales team. They're all creating the use case, the, you know, profiles of successful sellers, and the people who they want to feature as like, hey, Johnny made $1 million using our platform. And they all do that. And so there's all this pressure, these loud voices to use these platforms. And all of us as entrepreneurs, I think, are in many ways susceptible to sales jobs, you know. Sure. And it's like, if we get guilt or if we get more motivation, like, hey, you could make $1 million, it's so easy on XYZ marketplace. All of us fall into that, like, oh man, I want that money. But those voices, obviously that's sales work. And so it's on us to have a framework, a logical structure where we really say, no, I know my business well enough to know where I'm supposed to be. I got my channel strategy figured out, and here's my game plan that I'm going to execute on. So that's just a reality of the situation. So first question, and this is a hard question. So this is if you've gotten the PDF worksheet on winningonshopify.com, download it and fill out the 4 questions with us tonight. The first question is pretty straightforward, and you know, it's one to really think about, and that's what are the common online business models for you, and are you following one? Or ask more shortly, what business model are you following?
Yeah.
So Kyle, what would you say if somebody said, just like if Damon John from the Shark Tank walked in, you know, and said, hey, how's it going, dude? Hey, what's your online business model? How would you describe it?
I would say, first of all, it's nice to meet you, and I have a product I'd like to pitch you. So our business model is we are a basically I'm trying to think about it in terms that make the most sense. Like, I guess if you were using the common term in our industry, it would be like the private label, but not necessarily like. So there are different variations of a private label FBA selling company, right?
Okay.
There's those who just take and put their own label on someone else's product, and it becomes private label. Yeah. And then there's those who are going out there and creating their own brand and their own product. even if it's a variation, it's a new product. So that's the more of the business model that we follow, is that we will go out there and we develop products based on other people's products or some other variation of a design that we saw. So there's a product we're like, this product's kind of cool, but it's still missing X, Y, Z. It doesn't fulfill this need in the marketplace. We think we can make it better, or we can brand it better, or we can make a small change to it, right?
So you would consider yourself a private label seller or a manufacturer of original items?
Yeah, at first, if you were to ask me, I probably would have said, I'm a private label seller. But now I actually would align more of like, hey, we just are a brand. We create our own products, and we manufacture, and we have a company that manufactures for us, and we have different manufacturers who actually we source products from.
Okay.
But they're our products, they're designed by us.
Yep.
And that's our business model. And we're in the art, obviously in the art supply space. And
Art supply product.
yeah. So we're an art supply company. That's what we do primarily.
All right, cool. Ask me.
Yeah.
Ask me.
Jason, what is your business model?
We are digital publishers in the sewing space.
That's nice.
Digital publishers. So we publish downloadables like PDF documents. We also publish online courses. And we also have a membership program. So to the extent that that's considered publishing, then that's our three core aspects. It's also a marketplace that we run, Pixie Fair. Anybody can go check it out if you'd like. And so we have third-party sellers on our site as well. So we serve designers and publish their work. So we are a publisher of not only our own goodies, but we're a publisher for other people that we work under contract with. Yeah, digital goods.
That's one component I would like to add to our business, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so then the question is, if you know your business model, if your business model is a manufacturer in the art space,
yep.
Then you're clear on that, right?
Yep.
And did you logically think through your sales platform opportunities based on that? Or, I mean, you kind of did, right? You just intuitively said, okay, what do I got and where could I sell it?
Right. I mean, I think we started out because of just the buzz of selling on Amazon, but Amazon really, so the thing that you have to think about too is like 3 or 4 years ago, there was a little bit less competition. It wasn't quite no competition at that point, but there was still less competition than there is now.
Sure.
But what Amazon provides, which is unique, I think, is they provide a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
They provide a ton of technology.
Yep.
If you really think about the levels of all of the technology that's built into not only the selling platform, but the back end and the logistics, and then we're using their warehouse. So it made a lot of sense for us.
Yeah.
The Amazon.com was a place to start. It was a place to also vet the product, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to spend a ton of like infrastructure and cost in building out our own website and then have the product not really be something that people wanted.
Right.
So that was the other way that we
in
kind
essence,
of
you tested it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but once people were like, hey, we really like this product, and you end up with, pushing 700 reviews, and we're at like 5.9 stars or whatever, like it rounds up to 5. Then you're like, okay, I have this. Now what can we do with it? Like, where can we go from here? And so that became the question. But yeah, initially it was just like Amazon made the most sense for us logistically and from just a launch platform.
So the second question in our lineup for these 4 questions we're working on is, what sites or marketplaces are relevant to your business model, right? So you already kind of knew, okay, Amazon was most relevant for you.
Right.
Are there sites that are relevant to you that you're not on?
Yeah, I think that there are. Now, one thing that I've been thinking about, and they don't do nearly obviously the same kind of volume as say an Amazon, but there are like art specific stores, web stores that do decent amount of traffic and are fairly well known within the art supply space that we haven't approached yet, right? So that could be an easy win for us in the future moving forward. That would be much more like niche marketplace.
So you've identified some of those, some of those.
Yeah, there's a couple, and I don't have it off the top of my head of what those are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there are like 2 or 3 that we potentially try to go after. Now, the caveat to that is they might actually want us not only be on their online store, but they might actually want us to be in their brick and
Yeah.
mortar as well. So
Yeah.
we have to figure out that whole piece of it if it ended up working out the way it would be. The easiest kind of expansion for us still, I think, is within the Amazon ecosystem.
Okay, that's sort of interesting. So, because there's really 2 choices, right? Every seller who's listening to this and everybody who's sold online anywhere, you
Right.
only have 2 choices. You could either expand up on the site that you're on,
Mm-hmm.
or you could add a new site.
Right.
Those are your 2 choices, right? So that second question is really, it's not necessarily, yes, I should go sell on those sites, because as you just described, it might actually be wisest to just go all in on the existing. So do you think there's a lot of room to run for you on the Amazon platform?
Yeah, I do. I still think there's a lot because we already really have the brand built there as well. So now it's a matter. So from a growth perspective, we're like, okay, our goal initially when I was like, let's launch 10 new products in our brand. And then we kind of were talking about it today, and I was like, maybe that's a little too conservative. Maybe we need to go like bigger.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, so if the cash flow is not really going to be the issue, it's really our process of just our business process,
Development,
right? Like,
product development.
can we effectively manage like a lot of different product launches at different stages? Because there's really multiple stages of a product launch that has to happen. And if you're doing a lot of them at the same time, then can you manage that workflow piece of it? So we're like, we're going to aim. Initially, we said 10, but we might actually try and hit 30. And if we end up with like half that, then we get to 15, and it's still a good win. So we're going to go a little bit more aggressive on that and go 30. And yeah, they're going to all launch in Amazon, but then we're also going to launch them simultaneously in Europe. So we're kind of launching in 2 separate ecosystems now moving forward.
Amazon.com and Amazon Europe.
Yeah. So we have like a dual launch strategy there. But in terms of even expanding our Amazon footprint, there are Australia is going to be opening up for FBA. It's opening up. FBA is not available yet, but they will actually sell. You can sell third-party goods in Australia. Yeah. I mean that's going to be an easy move for us in terms. There's no language barrier necessarily. We just have to get it ready to go there.
Yeah.
So that I think that should be hopefully a move that we end up making with Amazon.
Got you.
I'm looking at, and I haven't fully like said yes, this is a must do. I'm looking at Amazon Japan. So Japan has a pretty interesting like art.
Wow, yeah.
They're pretty hungry for different art stuff. And so I think that might be a good move for us as well. So I'm looking at Japan, and then I'm also looking at India and actually China for Amazon, which would be kind of strange. But
and sales volume wise, are those big markets or small? I mean, is China huge?
Well, Amazon's China is like footprint is like 3%, right?
Okay,
3 or 4%, and they're probably never going to be like massive.
Yeah,
because Alibaba is there and they control the world, and they're a Chinese company. But if Amazon does end up getting, 4, 5, 10%, maybe even market share at some point in the future, 10% of, 1 billion people is still a lot of people. And if your products are pretty much locked into that, it doesn't take a ton of extra stuff to do. So anyway, so what about you? What's your kind of growth expansion plan, looking at other potential channels?
Yeah. So 2018 we think is pretty exciting for us. We've for Pixie Fair work, we've resisted the idea of being not digital and with our core product, but for eBay and Amazon, the only way to do it is through printed product. And so we've decided 2018 is going to be the year we launch our printed product version of all of our sewing patterns. And that means that we're going to have them on both eBay and Amazon. Now for us, because we run through Shopify, it'll be really fulfilled and managed through Shopify. So it's really using the Shopify sales channel strategy, which we haven't really talked about at all. But in essence, for people who are Shopify sellers, Shopify is relentlessly unlocking these new sales channels. And to the extent you can figure out how to hook them up and have them make sense, then that's an opportunity. That'll also unlock Pinterest for us as well. Pinterest is some of these channels are just not available to digital downloads. That's the barrier for us. But so that's been sort of our limiting factor. The other channel that we're going to unlock this year is called Craftsy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but it is
I have.
So it's a big site in the craft space. They have a downloadable pattern PDF section, and so we're going to load our catalog into Craftsy. So we could end up in 2018 with Craftsy and eBay and Amazon, in addition to Etsy and our own Shopify site that we sell on, and Pinterest, I guess. So that would be 6 for our core platform. Now on Jason Miles, author, speaker, and that kind of
all around good guy. I think that should be the mantra.
I have several book strategy plans that we're working on for Kindle books. And so this is a good example where, for me, I think I have a lot of opportunity to go deeper in Kindle, and I don't really care to try to have multiple sites for my Kindle books. I think the opportunity is for me to really grow sales on the Kindle platform, and there are things that are just basics that I didn't know how to do, and been learning and trying to figure out how to do new tricks and new things in Kindle, and so that's exciting. And Udemy, of course, is the other platform as well. I think Udemy is same situation. We have an opportunity to scale just on Udemy, just to grow Udemy,
definitely,
and not try to be on multiple platforms with our online courses. Yeah, so that's the approach for us this year. But it's a fundamental question, and so that's the second question that we want to look at tonight is that simple question of, based on your business model, what sites are relevant to you? And then the third question, you ready for the third one?
Fire away.
Third question is, what are your unique personal or business goals that impact where you might be selling? What that will impact your sales location. What is your business goal, and how does that influence these choices?
Sure. Well, and again, I think this goes back to one of the reasons why growing within the Amazon footprint makes sense for us, because we understand the process.
Right.
We're familiar with how it works.
Yep.
And Amazon doesn't change their systems much moving from place to place. It's all kind of the same system.
Yeah.
And so there's an ease and a familiarity with that. And it's not requiring us to necessarily go out and, like, for example, figure out how to make Jet actually work, right? Because you're using a bunch of different things with API, and it's just, it's a little more complicated if you're not doing it or using the right partner to do it, right?
Yep. So simplicity is a goal.
Simplicity is a goal. Honestly, it's about just kind of streamlining processes. And so if we can pivot and launch a marketplace, but still keep our processes streamlined, then that could make sense for us. That would be one of the deciding factors. But I'm trying to avoid complexity within the business as much as possible.
Yeah. But in terms of, personal and business goals on just the straight revenue side, are you more in the maximize top line sales at whatever cost? Or are you more about create efficiency, create simplicity, create non-drama, so you can do whatever you want to do from a
Sure.
laptop
Sure.
beach,
I think
beach
that's
setup.
ultimately the goal, right? Is to, minimize the workload, but at the same time, I think it depends too. Like, for example, in Europe, I would rather just kind of push top line sales as hard as possible,
Okay.
even at the extent in some cases of really nice profit margins,
Mhm.
because you need to gain brand awareness within a marketplace. You need to kind of gain your foothold, gain that level of trust, and that's
So
built
your
by
strategy there is to win business. You're trying to win
I just want
leadership, what,
to yeah,
bestseller rank stuff?
bestseller ranks, take
Yeah.
over page one, get more reviews. In fact, we've kind of adjusted our product placement strategy, if you would, a little bit more with Europe as opposed to .com. So our main product is a really cool sketchbook in Lead Art Supply. We have it, and it's all four of our sizes, or all four of the SKUs are done as what's called a child listing on Amazon. So you have the multiple options on that page.
Yeah.
In Europe, we're actually switching it out to where each of the sizes are going to be its own listing, as opposed to just being all under one listing.
Why? Just so you have more SKUs?
Yeah. So we have more opportunity to stack our products on those pages.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So it gives us a little, and then what we'll do underneath that is do like multi-pack bundles for each size. So you can buy bulk in that way.
So you've got different business goals for different marketplaces.
Different business goals for different marketplaces. For .com, it's definitely kind of how can we optimize?
Yep.
How can we, cut costs and increase profitability for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool, man. So it sounds like you know what you want to do.
So
now, are you in 100% agreement with your partner on that? Not, and by the way, Kyle's business partner on his art supply business, not me.
Yeah, correct. I think so for the most part. I mean, it's primarily kind of give and take. I mean, it's just like any other business arrangement where you're like, hey, I have this idea, and they're like, yeah, okay, that's a cool idea, let's go for it. And then or it's like, well, what about this? And they're like, oh, that's a good point.
Okay, all right. So you're in pretty good cahoots. Yeah,
we are. Yeah, I mean, I tend to when it comes to like scaling out these projects and these brands, think fairly like strategically, and I'll make sure that I have like a good business use case and scenario in place.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is the reason why we should do this. And here's the numbers, here's the outline, here's what I can project. I mean, because I can actually look at what the numbers we do on our SKUs here in .com and kind of a pretty good sense of what they're going to do in Europe, just in terms of overall numbers.
Percentage.
And so far it's hit that. So I haven't missed my projections have been on. So now I'm like, okay, now it's time to put more SKUs over there. But what about you? Like how are your business goals going to be defining where you go in 2018?
Yeah, good. It's a good question. So for Pixie Fair, for us, it is about being more places.
Yep.
And actually have more exposure and visibility. We're pretty good at site traffic for Shopify, and for getting people to come back. Yeah. And so we have our home base sorted out, and so that's really the main driver of our business. But then the question is, are there people on the marketplaces that are relevant to us that they just don't know about us? And so if they haven't searched in Google, if they search in Google, they know about us.
Right.
So, but if they just go straight to eBay or Amazon, or let's say Craftsy, because that was the other one I mentioned, and they search for our products, they don't know about us.
Right.
So there's blindness there in those spots. And so for us, that's really what it's about. It's about becoming more visible in more places for the goal of picking up new customers.
Yeah. And
there's a secondary goal as well, to be candid. In our little niche, I think it's fair to say that we're the leaders. How far ahead of everybody else we are, I guess, is debatable. At least in our specific subcategory, we are the leader.
Your niche.
Yeah. My dog just went nuts. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
So then the question is, how do we play defense?
Yep.
And defensive market is an interesting idea, but the idea is how do we be everywhere with the goal of winning business on those sites as a purely defensive business strategy. And I think that makes a ton of sense. So that's our approach. All right. So what about the fourth biz question we've got tonight here? What is our fourth question? What variables exist in your niche or industry that impact your specific options? What is it about your niche product space that impacts what you should be doing?
I think, well, we're very, very focused on artists, right? So we're at Art Supply. I mean, we could be like, hey, we want to help anybody who wants to journal or wants to take notes on paper. We could be your company, but we've kind of decided that's not who we want to be. There are plenty of great companies out there that are doing that. So we're focused on the art and in the art space. So in terms of variables, it's really kind of, that gives us limits on where we're going to try and position ourselves. We're not going to be, necessarily putting it out in Office Supply. We're not going to be in Office Max or, like
the FedEx, Kinko's store,
exactly,
rack where you.
Exactly. So we're not going to be there. So that definitely impacts what and where we're going to be choosing to go. In terms of variables, I think if like competition is real. It's real in any market.
Yeah, for you, it's very real, dude.
It's very real. Like we have interesting competitors. Like even Amazon popped up in our kind of in. It's not a direct. I mean, in some ways, they're direct competitors. They have like a notebook product, right? Okay. They're selling.
Okay.
That they were like, we're going to brand this. It's Amazon brand. It's their basics brand, and it's been there probably for. It's probably been there for 8 months now. It kind of shows up in the space, but honestly, it hasn't really impacted us at all. So we just keep on going because we're very much about the artist and the artist experience. So that's not really what they're going after as a niche. But art supplies are a fairly easy product if you wanted to take your label and slap it onto something you ordered off of AliExpress. That nothing's stopping you from doing that. So how the variable for us is how do we continue to create a brand and an experience that is different than just slinging product, right?
Yep, so, for sure. And so obviously your big competitor just in the real world offline and both online is Moleskine. Is that right?
Moleskine, yeah, it's interesting. Moleskine has the same I would say like brand product feel, and they do definitely have some art supply stuff that they go after,
and they're huge, right? I mean,
they do like $150 million a year, so they do a ton of volume, and they're all in like the sketchbook, notebook, anything paper bound book, and Moleskine will have some level of product. To serve that niche, right?
Yeah.
So they're huge. But then we have Strathmore and Canson or other big sketchbook, notebook companies that are out there as well. So they're definitely competition. And there's smaller brands that are out there on Amazon as well that are kind of popping up.
Sure.
That are trying to sell product and make a dent. So that whole mix is definitely a part in weighing in and influencing our decision making. Like how do we continue to defend our brand, defend my market share that we've taken, and while we're pushing forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird tension of like we're moving forward, we're adding new products, and we're trying to scale out, but also we got to defend the ground we've already taken. So,
absolutely. No, I mean I think it's a very interesting question because every seller is in a different situation. Yep. There are unique variables that impact every situation. So some sellers are the David and there's a Goliath.
Right. Yeah.
That's a unique
definitely the David, I think, in pretty much 99% of the time.
Yeah. Some sellers really have created something that's unique and there's not really a lot of competition.
True.
So then in that situation, if you cut something that's kind of unique and there's not a lot of competition, then that's a different opportunity. And in my estimation, those are the types of sellers that might really consider having a Shopify site and just driving traffic to their unique product.
Right.
But then if you leave the marketplaces unfilled, you leave an opportunity for a competitor to launch on a marketplace and you're not there, right?
Right.
Other sellers have unique opportunities. Kindle for authors. Kindle it's very hard to not take them up on their exclusive deal. And authors debate the merits of the exclusive deal. But in my estimation, it's just better to be exclusively on Kindle because they're the dominant marketplace. And, so if you're, in that situation, if you're in a deal like that, where there's a dominant marketplace and you're trying to sell and all your customers are in that marketplace.
Yeah.
It's like, why be in the wilderness? Like why be out in the hinterlands if all the customers are in one place? So and these are hard choices, and it's not as if it's just one size fits all. This is really, to me, where the channel strategy becomes most interesting, because all of us have unique situations where we're at as a competitor, where our competition is and what they're doing, how price competitive they are. And all of those variables. And the other thing that's a reality too that we run into, because I think we have over 10,300 students now for our Shopify training. The thing that we run into a lot is people will propose, hey, I want to do a Shopify site, and the first question we ask is, we always do an orientation meeting with our new Inner Circle members. We ask the question, what do you sell? And a lot of times people are trying to sell products online that are just not conducive to a standalone Shopify website.
Mm-hmm.
And there's it matters what your product is. And if you have a product where people are only going to buy it every 6 months, you're going to have a very hard time, because your repeat traffic from your recurring customers, recurring visitors, it's like, why would they come back to your site?
Right.
And that is a very, very difficult position to be in. So the product strategy matters tremendously, as to what marketplace choice you pick.
For sure.
That's interesting. And yeah. Well, those are the 4 questions. So let me rattle them off again real quick, just to make sure everybody got them. The first question is, what is your business model? And are you clear on that? And if you're listening to this tonight and you say to yourself, I'm not real clear on my business model, then really that's step
your
1.
Opportunity.
Yeah. Because it's a perfect time of the year, right? It's the perfect time of the year to say, okay, my business model is a little fuzzy. I'm doing 3 models, or I'm doing 4 models, or I don't know what I'm doing. It's a perfect time of the year to lock down, how do I get my business model super tight and clarified? And the second question is, what marketplaces or website strategies are relevant to that business model? What makes the most sense? What's the most logical? So that's the second question. Third question is, what are my unique personal or business goals? How badly do I want to be on my laptop on the beach? Or do I want to go for the gusto and build a big team? Do I really want to take on debt and build a big company? What is the desire of your business and personal goals for being an online seller? And then the fourth question is, what unique variables exist for your niche or industry that impact what you should be doing? So these are just the first questions in the 4-part framework. And so Kyle and I have been working hard on setting this training up. If you like this topic and you really want to go deep on how to get your 2018 sales channel strategy locked down, then we'd love to have you jump in with us. Inner Circle program is available on winningonshopify.com. And we're going to go live over the next few Fridays and keep talking about the 2018 sales channel strategy, and really how to figure out where to sell and why, And so we'll come back and we'll do some more of this. We'll mix it up a little bit as well and go from there. So Kyle, other thoughts, ideas, questions, comments?
I just got to do the work. I mean, that's what it kind of comes down to when these questions is they force you. You know, it's kind of fun. You come to the new year, and oftentimes you you start looking back and being reflective and all these different things, and looking forward of 2018, doing some planning.
Yeah,
business should have the same experience, right? So this is your opportunity, kind of see where you want to go with it, and hopefully this framework kind of gives you some guidelines, some guide rails to make some of those decisions and cause you to think through things maybe you hadn't considered.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. It's a perfect time of the year, and it's the perfect question, I think, for all of us, because it's getting so crazy with so many marketplaces. It's really time to not wing it. Right. It's time to not just be like, I kind of feel like this would be a good site. It's really time to lock down, okay, what's my framework for my sales channel strategy? Why? Where, you know, what's my blueprint that I'm going to execute on in 2018? So if you're watching this anywhere else, be sure to hit us up on winningonshopify.com. And again, there's a template that you can download and get for this conversation to answer these 4 questions. And it really starts to set the stage for going deep on the whole topic. So thanks for hanging in here with us. And
absolutely,
we'll see you next Friday.
I'll see you next Friday. Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Good times, good times.
All right. See you guys later.
Yeah. Bye. Bye, everybody.